Hi everyone, I am Martina and today with the D Factory we have Luigi Grosso. Luigi Grosso has worked as managing director for leading footwear companies as Nike and Timberland, and in 2007 he founded the company Our Brand Management. Our Brand Management is specialized in providing sustainable products and optimal service solutions in regards to packaging, loading, transportation optimizations that conform to the fast developing environmental norms and standards. They actually work with leading footwear brands, and Our Brand Management became a certified benefit corporation back in July 2015. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Grunwald, Germany, which is right outside of Munich.
Wow, amazing. Luigi, let's tell us a little bit more about your job as managing director and founder of Our Brand Management.
Sure. Happy to do so. So I believe as a CEO, I can't really delegate my core values to outsiders. They really must own from their own heart what they do. What I stand for and my core values is what's really important. I believe that great leaders have encompassed and operationalized their core values. And that's what I believe CEOs need to embody to be successful handling climate change. Paul Polman, former CEO of Unilever, Yvon Chouinard, founder of Patagonia, and former Vice President Al Gore have symbolized really what it makes to make a difference in the world, what it takes to make a difference in the world. At our company, we've adopted a very straightforward and steering principle of passion for the environment, which is led by sustainability principles of what we do, why, and for whom. It's not leading to a long-term benefit for the environment, we won't invest. Our focus as an organization, including our worldwide partners, are the four pillars of environmental sustainability: environment, social, economic, and institutional dimensions. We are in a situation where climate change is an existential risk to our future economies and way of life. We strongly believe that it will be impact-driven companies and organizations that are purpose-powered rather than profit-driven and return-motivated that'll really make the difference in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. We also believe that over the last 10 years, consumer behavior is changing. Their purchase behaviors are more torn to purpose-driven and transparent brands. And we have seen many examples of various initiatives around the world that have shown us that your generation, Martina, X and millenniums, are really changing their buying behaviors. And we believe that that's going to affect our industry, the apparel and footwear industry, significantly in the future.
And Luigi, what made you start your business in sustainability?
I began focusing on sustainability about 10 years ago when I realized that in the global footwear supply chain and apparel industries, there was a significant amount of excess raw materials, plastics, raw materials that weren't sourced from protected environments. I also took part in a study funded by the EU and done by Inescop in Spain on a carbon footprint calculation verification. This study really shocked me because it revealed that 25 to 30% of the cost of footwear was attributed to supply chain. This made me realize that if we could bring our understanding of how to reduce this cost, we would be at the same time significantly reducing the environmental impact of footwear in the supply chain.
Amazing. That's an extremely key point and key figure that you can think about. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you are actually doing in sustainability with Our Brand Management?
Sure. Well, it's a long process, but we have actually been able to, over the last 4 or 5 years, really break it down to some fundamental parts. We carefully analyze on a hands-on basis the material impact of the entire supply chain of a brand and perform a due diligence process by analyzing all of the harmful materials and uncompostable materials in the supply chain of footwear. We analyzed excessive materials, right sizing, thicknesses, and of course the cost, and in the environmental impact that substitutions will make. We protect and perform these products by making sure that these certain initiatives that we institute are maintained from the factory floor to the consumer, especially in D2C, direct-to-consumer logistics centers, which are becoming more and more important today as e-commerce has increased significantly in the past couple of years and will continue to increase.
As you are working with leading footwear brands, maybe you are one of the best person to answer this question. So what do you think is the biggest and most urgent problem about sustainability that your clients are facing? And why do you think it is an urgent problem right now?
In the footwear industry, it's the fear of change in their supply chain, because supply chains have so many components from getting inbound into the factory out to the consumer. And there are so many variables along that supply chain. Many managers, frankly, don't have the moral compass to insist on making changes in that process and procedure. Sometimes it's the fear of their role, the interruption, not able to recognize and clarity and traceability in the supply chain prevent them from making many of these changes. I have seen that brands that have transparency in their costing and manage and control every single component are therefore able to make these changes much easier. They realize that this has a significant benefit to the environment and the bottom line. This has become even more apparent during the last year and a half of COVID. Cost of raw materials, global transportation glitches, and cost increases should make it even more important for brands to focus on transparency and the environment. And that's one of our biggest challenges. The most urgent issue is the protection of the global forest and their effect on fighting climate change. As David Attenborough has said, this is the most critical and effective way to solve the problem. However, many brands continue to insist on sourcing their packaging and packing materials from unprotected forests where the biodiversity is not maintained and the forests are not replanted.
Which approach do you think is the most effective to tackle the climate change and all the problems you mentioned, speaking about sustainability in the footwear and fashion industry?
I believe that one of the most important triggers of change are the consumer demands of millennials and Gen X's. Brands continue to act as they do not care and respect the environment. Young and future consumers will prefer to purchase brands that are purpose and mission driven for the environment. And I think that will make the biggest change.
That's an extremely important point. Customers are at the heart of the consumption mechanism and industry. If they shift their demands, maybe also the market will shift to a more sustainable economy.
That's right. That's right.
Here we come to one of our tricky questions, and maybe it's a little bit weird. If you had a magic power, what would you do to make the fashion industry more sustainable?
Well, I think technology will be one of the key factors to help in this process and to radicalize to a more greener economy in our industries. So I believe the magic is already there. I think that technology is moving so quickly that it will process through the system. I believe that the openness and the visibility toward consumers, as I said before, will be expected, and the value that consumers will come to expect. I think there's another issue that we're facing, and that's the abundance of low-priced waste product that is not reused and is even creating a bigger crisis. Technology has allowed for some very interesting initiatives over the last 10, 15 years. Repurposed, resold, web-based platforms are helping companies like Nike with Regrind and Recondition, and Vivo Barefoot with Revivo. Those are companies that are really looking toward the future about what consumers will want. And they've thought how technology and consumer environmental consciousness will intertwine by returning products for recondition and eventual resale. This is really technology at its heart. And I believe that this is going to change the consumer's response to low-priced merchandise in the next 10, 20 years.
Technology can be, let's say, a trigger for shifting consumers' purchasing habits.
Yes.
That can be a really good consideration. I'd like to ask you even something more, because you are a certified B Corp. So I'd like to ask you something about the B Corp certification and why it is important for your business.
Well, when we decided to try the assessment back in 2014, it was a challenging feat because we were not at the time focused on the Sustainable Development Goals set out by the United Nations. And what actually happened to us as a team, we started taking the Sustainable Development Goals and putting together them with the assessment. So we started implementing some of the goals of the United Nations into our business prospects and into our business practice. So we started looking at what can we do as a company in order to get through the assessment. And one by one, we started changing the way we did things and why we were doing it. And we were able to eventually, it took us over a year and a half, actually, to get to the minimum points. But during that process, we actually changed our model significantly and how we talk to customers. And that really made a difference in the model of our business. And today it's the driving force with our organization. And we are just finished now our third assessment, where we hope to achieve over 100 points.
We are as well B Corp. We just certified a few days ago. Yeah, so I really agree that B Corp means also to change your business model, change the way you are doing business, and the objective of doing business, which is not only economic, but is also focused on other dimensions that include people, community, environment. And you should look at them as a real 360 degrees perspective in everything you're doing in your business.
Yes, absolutely. It's a real great help for us as a guiding tool. And as we practice more and more of the mission-driven prospects of the assessment, we continue to get better in what we do and how we do it. And also the people. It's a people tool as well, because when you assess people performance, you take a totally different approach. And that's very important in our small organization here.
A guiding tool for change. Thank you, Luigi. Thank you for sharing. And